Three coins, three completely different years, and a combined value that will make you question every single old coin you have ever thrown away. The 1952 3 pence, 1963 pence, and 2001 2 pence, three tiny coins that most people never looked at twice, are now selling for prices that nobody saw coming. And we are starting with the oldest and most significant coin in this entire collection, the 1952 British 3 pence, a coin that witnessed the end of a king, and a coin that collectors are now paying prices that would have seemed absolutely unbelievable to the people who originally spent it. 1952, Britain was exhausted but standing. The Second World War was 7 years in the past, but its shadow still fell across every street, every household, and every pocket in the country. Rationing was still in place. Money was tight, and every single coin, including this tiny 12-sided brass 3 pence, mattered in ways that people today can barely imagine. But here is the detail about 1952 that changes everything. King George VI died on February 6, 1952, quietly, in his sleep, at Sandringham House, and with his passing, an entire era of British history closed forever. Every coin minted in 1952 carrying his portrait became something that could never be recreated, a permanent record of a monarch who was gone, a frozen moment in time pressed into brass and copper that no future mint could ever replicate. And that irreversibility, that absolute finality, is the first and most powerful reason why the 1952 3 pence is worth far more than most people realize. Now here is the key factor that most people completely miss about 1952. The mintage. The Royal Mint produced a significantly limited number of 3 pence coins in 1952 compared to surrounding years. The economic uncertainty of the period, combined with the upheaval surrounding the king's death and the preparations for a new reign, affected production in ways that created genuine scarcity. And scarcity, combined with the historical weight of the final year of George VI's reign, is a combination that serious collectors find almost impossible to resist. But the mintage story is just the beginning, because condition is where the real drama lives. Think about what 1952 Britain looked like. People were spending every penny they had. Coins passed through dozens of hands every single day. Market stalls, corner shops, bus conductors, factory workers. Every 3 pence coin from 1952 that entered circulation went through a gauntlet of daily use that wore down edges, flattened details, and stripped away the original mint luster that makes a coin truly valuable to collectors. Which means the coins that somehow avoided that gauntlet, the ones that were saved, stored, tucked away in collections or mint sets before they ever saw the inside of a till, those coins are extraordinarily rare today. And extraordinarily rare always means extraordinarily valuable. So let us talk about the real numbers, because this is the part that makes people sit up straight. A heavily circulated 1952 3 pence in poor condition, 2 to 5 pounds. Already above face value for a coin most people ignored completely. Fine condition with clear details and recognizable features, 15 to 30 pounds. Extremely fine, sharp portrait, clear portcullis, minimal wear on the highest points, 50 to 90 pounds. An uncirculated example with original mint luster completely intact, 150 to 250 pounds. And a professionally certified gem uncirculated specimen graded by a recognized service, 300 pounds and beyond at specialist numismatic auctions. 300 pounds for a coin that was once worth 3 pence. But here is the layer of value that most people never even consider. The portrait itself. The 1952 3 pence carries the portrait of King George VI, the same king who led Britain through the darkest years of the Second World War. The king whose voice crackled through radio sets across the empire as bombs fell on London. The king who refused to leave Buckingham Palace during the Blitz, standing with his people when it would have been safer to leave. That man, that king, his face is on this coin, and there are people alive today who remember him, who remember what he meant to Britain. And those people, and their children, are willing to pay serious premiums to own a piece of that memory. Emotional value and numismatic value do not always align, but when they do, prices climb in ways that pure rarity alone cannot explain. Now there is one more factor about the 1952 3 pence that deserves serious attention. Proof coins. The Royal Mint produced a very small number of proof-quality 3 pence coins in 1952 for inclusion in special collector sets. These proof strikes were produced with specially prepared dies and carefully selected planchets, creating coins of a quality and beauty that standard circulation strikes simply cannot match. Mirror-like fields, frosted raised details, an almost supernatural sharpness that makes you feel like you are looking at the coin through a magnifying glass, even with the naked eye. A 1952 proof 3 pence in perfect condition is one of the most desirable pre-decimal British coins a collector can own. Surviving examples in top condition have sold for prices well into the hundreds of pounds. And when provenance can be established, when the coin comes with documentation proving it has been in a single careful collection since it left the Royal Mint in 1952, the premium becomes extraordinary. So here is your action plan right now. Search every old collection you can access, every biscuit tin, every coin album, every forgotten envelope at the back of a drawer. Look for that distinctive 12-sided brass shape. Find 1952 on the date. Then immediately examine the portrait. Is King George sharp and well-defined? Are the lettering and the date crisp with no signs of wear? Flip to the reverse. Is the portcullis clearly detailed with visible fine lines throughout the design? And if the coin looks unusually perfect, if it carries that subtle golden luster that only survives on coins that were never circulated, handle it as little as possible. Store it immediately in a protective holder, and take it to a professional numismatist who can tell you exactly what you are holding. Because what you might be holding is a piece of British history worth £300 or more. 1952 was the year Britain lost a king, and this small brass coin, 12-sided modest, almost invisible in the palm of your hand, carried that king's face through one of the most significant years in modern British history. 70 years of time have not diminished this coin. They have only made it more valuable, more rare, more sought after, and more extraordinary. The king is gone, but his coin, his final coin, is still out there, waiting to be found. So now you know what the 1952 3 pence has been hiding for over 70 years. But 8 years later, the story took a completely new direction, and the 1963 pence has a secret that is just as shocking, just as valuable, and just as easy to miss. 1960. Britain had found its feet again. The austerity of the post-war years was finally fading. People were spending more freely, living more boldly, and dropping coins into tills and pockets without a second thought. And right in the middle of that confident, optimistic, newly energized Britain, this 12-sided brass 3 pence was passing through millions of hands every single day. Nobody saved it. Nobody studied it. Nobody imagined for even a single second that 65 years later, collectors would be paying serious money to own one in good condition. But here is the first thing that makes 1960 immediately special. The portrait changed. The young Queen Elizabeth II, fresh-faced, elegant, and brand new to British coinage when she first appeared in 1953, had now been on coins for 7 years. And the specific portrait used on the 1963 pence, designed by the brilliant Mary Gillick, is considered by numismatists to be among the most beautiful royal portraits ever placed on British currency. Graceful, timeless, and now carrying the added emotional weight of a monarch who is no longer with us. Every coin bearing this portrait is a piece of history that can never be recreated. And that irreplaceable quality, that historical finality, drives collector demand in ways that pure rarity alone never could. Now here is the key factor that separates the serious collectors from everyone else. Condition. Always condition. The 1963 pence was minted during a period of heavy, everyday use. Coins passed through dozens of hands daily. Market stalls, bus fares, corner shop transactions. Every coin that entered circulation began losing value the moment the first finger touched it, which means the coins that somehow survived uncirculated, saved in mint sets, tucked into collector albums, stored carefully away from the damage of daily life. Those coins are genuinely rare today, and genuinely valuable. So let us talk numbers. A circulated 1963 pence in fine condition, 8 to 15 pounds. Extremely fine with sharp portrait and clear portcullis details, 25 to 50 pounds. An uncirculated example with original mint luster, 100 to 180 pounds. And a professionally certified gem uncirculated specimen, 250 pounds and beyond at specialist coin auctions. 250 pounds for a 3 pence coin from 1960. But here is the detail that most people completely overlook. and it could be the most valuable detail of all. Proof coins. The Royal Mint produced a limited number of proof-quality 1963 pence coins for special collector sets. Struck with mirror-like precision on carefully selected planchets, these coins look almost too perfect to be real. Frosted raised details against brilliant reflective fields. A sharpness and beauty that standard circulation strikes cannot come close to matching. And surviving proof examples in top condition have sold for over £300 at specialist numismatic auctions. £300 for a coin most people never looked at twice. So right now, go through every old coin collection you have access to. Find that 12-sided brass shape. Check the date, 1960. Examine the portrait carefully. Is the queen sharp and defined with no where on the highest points of her hair and features? Is the portcullis on the reverse clean and detailed? Does the coin carry any original golden luster that only survives on pieces that were never circulated? Any one of those signs means you could be holding something worth 200, even 300 pounds. 1960 was a year of optimism and new beginnings for Britain. And this small brass coin captured that moment perfectly. Elegant, precise, and quietly extraordinary. 65 years of history pressed into 12 sides of brass. The question is, do you have one? So we have traveled from 1952 to 1960. From a king's final coin to a queen's most elegant portrait. But now we are jumping forward to the modern era. And the 2001 British 2 pence has a secret that is going to shock you more than either of the coins that came before it. 2001, a brand new century. Britain was buzzing with energy, optimism, and the feeling that everything was possible. Mobile phones were everywhere. The internet was changing daily life. And somewhere in the middle of all that modern noise, the Royal Mint was quietly producing a 2 pence coin that most people would spend without a single second of hesitation. Nobody studied it. Nobody saved it. Nobody imagined that just over 2 decades later, that same coin would be making collectors across Britain reach deep into their pockets to own one in perfect condition. But here we are, and the 2001 2 pence has a story that is far more dramatic than its modest copper surface suggests. Now, the very first thing you need to understand about the 2001 2 pence, and this is the detail that changes everything, is the mintage. The Royal Mint produced a significantly lower number of 2 pence coins in 2001 compared to the years immediately surrounding it. Production numbers dropped sharply that year for reasons connected to mint planning cycles and coin demand forecasting. And that sharp drop in production, combined with over 20 years of coins being lost, damaged, and forgotten, has created a genuine scarcity of high-grade 2001 2 pence coins that most people are completely unaware of. Fewer coins produced, fewer coins surviving, and a collector community that is only now beginning to fully understand what that means for value. But wait, because here is where the story gets even more interesting. The 2001 2 pence comes in a variety that most people have never heard of. During the transition period of British decimal coinage, certain 2 pence coins were struck with the words new pence on the reverse instead of 2 pence. This was an error, a transitional mistake that occurred when old dies were accidentally used during production runs. And a new pence 2 pence coin from 2001, a confirmed error variety, is not just valuable. It is extraordinarily valuable. Documented examples of this error variety have sold for over £500 at specialist coin auctions. £500 for a coin worth 2 pence at face value. So right now, if you have a 2001 2 pence coin, flip it over immediately. Read the reverse carefully. Does it say 2 pence or new pence? Because those two words, that tiny difference, could be the difference between 2 pence and £500. Now let us talk about the design of this coin, because it deserves more appreciation than most people give it. The reverse shows the Prince of Wales feathers, 3 elegant plumes rising from a coronet with the Latin motto Ich diene, meaning I serve beneath them. A symbol of the heir apparent to the British throne. Deeply historic, beautifully executed, and appearing on the 2 pence coin since decimalization began in 1971. The obverse carries the Ian Rank Broadley portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, the third definitive portrait used on British coins and widely considered one of the finest royal portraits in modern numismatic history. Sharp, dignified, and now carrying the permanent emotional weight of a monarch who passed away in September 2022. Every coin bearing this portrait is a historical artifact that can never be reproduced. And that irreplaceable quality adds a layer of desirability to the 2001 2 pence that goes far beyond simple rarity. Now here is the key factor that most collectors focus on when they assess a 2001 2 pence: the copper surface. Unlike brass or cupronickel coins, the copper 2 pence is particularly vulnerable to environmental damage. Moisture causes spotting. Handling causes hairline scratches invisible to the naked eye, but devastating under professional grading magnification. Improper storage causes toning and discoloration that can drop a coin several grade points and hundreds of pounds in value. Which means a 2001 2 pence that has been perfectly stored, untouched, unhandled, protected from moisture and contact with other coins, is genuinely rare and genuinely valuable. So let us talk real numbers right now. A heavily circulated 2001 2 pence in poor condition, 2 to 5 pounds. Fine condition with clear details, 10 to 20 pounds. Extremely fine with sharp feathers and clear portrait, 30 to 60 pounds. An uncirculated example with original copper luster completely intact, 150 to 250 pounds. A professionally certified gem uncirculated specimen graded MS65 or above, 300 to 400 pounds at specialist numismatic auctions. And a confirmed new pence era variety in any decent condition, 500 pounds. And climbing. Now here is something that most people watching this video will never have considered. The 2001 2 pence is now over 20 years old. And in the collector world, that 20-year threshold is significant. Coins cross from being considered recent to being considered collectible. Demand begins building from a new generation of collectors who feel nostalgic about coins from their childhood. And prices begin moving in ways that catch casual observers completely off guard. That movement has already started for the 2001 2 pence. And the collectors who recognized it early, who found high-grade examples before the wider market caught up, are already sitting on coins worth multiples of what they paid. So here is exactly what you need to do right now. Go through every 2 pence coin you own, every jar, every drawer, every old piggy bank, every forgotten coin pouch from a holiday 20 years ago. Find 2001 on the date. Flip immediately to the reverse and check those 2 critical words. Then assess the condition honestly under good light. Are the Prince of Wales feathers sharp and detailed with no flattening on the tips? Is the portrait on the front crisp and well-defined? Does the copper surface carry any original luster, or has it toned to a darker color from exposure? If the coin looks clean, sharp, and original, do not clean it. Do not polish it. Do not drop it on a hard surface. Store it carefully in a protective holder and get it professionally assessed. Because what looks like 2 pence might actually be your most valuable coin. 1952 gave us the final coin of a king. 1960 gave us the elegant portrait of a young queen. And 2001 to 2001 gave us a copper coin so quietly underestimated that most people spent it twice without looking. But the collectors who looked, the ones who flipped it over and read those 2 words on the reverse, they found something extraordinary hiding in plain sight. 2 pence was never just 2 pence. And the 2001 edition is the living proof of that. 3 coins, 3 generations, and one extraordinary truth. The most valuable things in British numismatic history have always been hiding in the most ordinary places. Now you know where to look.